Sarah Palin's documentary, The Undefeated, opened the box office last weekend. And Fox News says that it was a very successful opening weekend for the documentary.
Oh, fantastic.
It made a whopping $65,000 to $75,000.
Oh.
Win!
All they do is win. Okay, you know why? Because they're the undefeated.
Undefeated. By the way, I love that. I love that picture. Just to give you an idea, just to give you a couple comparisons, the Undefeated, as I mentioned, made $65,000 to $75,000 in its opening weekend. Mm-hmm. Harry Potter only made $168 million.
Yeah, we're missing zeros from that Harry Potter graphic. Okay, but that gives you a sense of it. We left out 3 zeros, and it still kicked Sarah Palin's ass. Okay, but to be fair, Sarah Palin is undefeated.
Undefeated.
Okay, now look, it's a little unfair to compare Harry Potter to Sarah Palin. The movie, because she had so many less theaters. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Harry Potter very promoted and is in all the theaters, etc. We're not saying she was supposed to compete with Harry Potter. Mm-hmm. So let's compare her to another documentary.
So there was another documentary that came out a few years ago called Joan Rivers, A Piece of Work.
Okay.
Okay.
And it only opened on 7 screens, so a fair comparison.
Only 7 screens.
Right.
Now, Sarah Palin's movie made $8,000 per screen, and it opened on a dozen screens.
Okay. Okay. So it was actually on more theaters, and it made $8,000 per theater. Okay?
Per theater, right? When it comes to Joan Rivers' documentary, she made $23,500 per theater.
Undefeated.
Undefeated.
There you go, baby. There you go. So apparently the American people much more fascinated in Joan Rivers than Sarah Palin.
But the amazing thing about this story is you can't deny the facts. You look at the numbers are the numbers, right?
Yeah.
But Fox News, successful opening weekend for Sarah Palin's documentary. Film opened strong. Theaters packed.
By the way, in that entire story, there's actually no numbers about how it did, how many people went to the movie, how much money it made. It's just, it's Fox. Who gives a damn about facts? Film opens strong, packed theaters. Fantastic. No, nobody went. Okay. And look, this actually goes to a larger point. Mm-hmm. Because, you got to give the conservatives credit, because from time to time they really show up in person, whether it's the Tea Party rallies or it's the book signings of Sarah Palin and stuff. So fair is fair on that count, mm-hmm, right? And she's done some good book signings with a lot of people, right? But I've always thought that they were a small minority, and that, so when they, for example, and I don't base this on just speculation, when they do protests, like these Christian right protests, mm-hmm, and they say, oh, I can't believe Ford advertised in a gay magazine, that's it, we're shutting down Ford, we're doing a boycott, and Ford sales do better, mm-hmm, right? They're like, where's the boycott, right? And at most 3 people participated, but that's simply because they weren't going to buy a car anyway.
Right.
Right? Okay. I've always thought, these guys are being overhyped. They do a great job of showing up in the specific spots, but when this movie, Sarah Palin, then all of her fans are going to go, and they did, and it was 17 people, mm-hmm, right? Now, that's a little unfair. It was more than 17, right? But it did terribly, because there's actually not that many of them.
To give you an idea, I think The Human Centipede made more on its opening weekend than Sarah Palin.
Oh, jeez. That was the worst movie ever made.
Ever made. Overall, that movie made $175,000 in its lifetime.
Wow, it's crushing Palin so far, but this is her opening box office. Exactly. You never know. She could go from 75,000 to maybe 85,000 next week. You never know. She's undefeated.
She was walking with a limp.
Trying to catch me riding dirty.
Yeah.
Do I look cooler when I do that? No, not buying it. Put down your sandwich. I need to judge who ate the most. I won, right? Did Anna win?